Hey, good evening. Welcome to my home. My wife is over here working on some pumpkin. It's one of her hobbies. I hope y'all are hanging in there this week. We are on the tail end of the week now. I've been working Uber this week. It's been actually a ton of fun. It was recommended to me to work for Uber, and yeah, it was interesting as I asked a couple of my students just what they thought I ought to do for a job that they think I might like, and they did pretty clearly say to do a job like that. So I've been doing it this week, and I really like it. It's super fun. I really enjoy driving all over the place and being outside and interacting with people. It's a lot of fun, and it's just really interesting to be able to talk to people. I mean, yeah, some people they just kind of want to chill, be on their phone or be talking on the phone and whatever. But yeah, it's interesting how many people I've noticed who actually really want to have conversation and talk about their lives. And one thing I've noticed even over just even a couple days is just how lonely people are. And I do think, especially after the season of COVID and everything, I think for so many people that they are just super lonely. And I think a lot of people are looking for a friend, but I think a lot of people have just kind of given up on deep, meaningful human relationships. And I think it's easy to understand why, because a lot of people get hurt in relationships. And I was telling this to someone the other day, but it's what's known as the hedgehog effect. And this idea is kind of popularized in that anime Evangelion, or something like that. It's like a big robot mech anime. It's supposedly one of the best. I saw it and I was like, yeah, it's good, but I still would say Death Note is the best, but that's just me. The idea of the hedgehog effect is that the closer you get to someone, the greater the possibility of you getting hurt and or hurting another person. So I think that's probably why a lot of us give up on relationships with, I mean, it could be friendships or deepening family relationships or getting to know our neighbors. What I've noticed about this area of Orange County is that there are a lot of friendly people, but they're friendly at a distance, sort of keeping you at arm's length. And I mean, we all do that. I do that. You may find yourself doing that. But what I've found is that we end up settling for a smaller and narrower way of living. And I really, I think God really wants more for us. And I really think that's what a lot of people are looking for out there. A lot of stressed out people, weighed down by anxiety, really feeling hopeless, actually to the point where they just don't maybe feel like doing a whole lot because they're really crushed. A lot of hurt people out there, a lot of just very lonely people that I've talked to so far. And I think Christians have a great opportunity to be the friend that no one's really ever had. I think a lot of people probably would say, I mean, there are many exceptions and many bad home situations I can think of, even for my friends. But I think even a lot of even Christians who grew up in a Christian home, I think they would say, yeah, I really think my parents love me. But I honestly think there are so many people who would say that I don't know if I really felt truly known. And at least that's what I've heard from Christian professor who would talk about these sorts of things. Yeah, he was leading a what's called a spiritual formation class. It's basically growing in spiritual maturity. That's what a lot of students would say is that, yeah, I felt like my parents loved me, but I didn't really feel known by them. And I personally really think that's what Christian church is all about. And I wrote it even on this whiteboard. As humans, we have a desire to know and be known. That's ultimately because we are created in the image of God. And one aspect of that being created in the image of God is to know God. And it's also to be known by God. It's to have that fulfillment in our lives that only God can fulfill. What's interesting is God makes Eve. He says that it's not good for man to be alone, so he makes Eve. And it's not in the sense merely of like a husband-wife relationship or a romantic sense of fulfillment, but I really believe it's tapping more into this idea that humans are not to be alone without other humans. But I find so many people, and I've done this to myself even over the last couple of years, but so many people choosing isolationism probably as a way to protect themselves, or maybe there's great social anxiety, and so they'd rather not deal with the guilt of just being lonely rather than interact with people and have bad memories and just feeling bad about the way they interact with them. So I think a lot of people have given up, and I think so many people have had such bad experiences in churches. And yeah, I don't really think at all that's what God's intended for the life of a church, is for people to know each other very superficially. I think that the healthiest churches to me seem to be the ones that genuinely know each other and can be honest with each other, and feel safe to talk with each other and share each other's lives. And I think that's also modeled by Paul, when he talks about this this idea that he's additionally, shared his life, with the people that he's worked with. And so for for our heart for Epicenter, as we're planting, we don't really care about the size of the church. I don't think size is necessarily an indicator of spiritual well-being. Lauren and we visited a mega church over the previous weekend, and it's really spectacular. I mean, we were just like looking around, and this place is incredible. Look at like the facilities and the space and the buildings, and just everything was like really jaw-dropping. It was really impressive. But I think what we found is that even though there were definitely nice people on staff that helped us with our children, or gave us a booklet as we came into the sanctuary, we didn't actually even come across anyone that really wanted to get to know us or approach us or talk to us. And so, for as nice as a church may be with its buildings and programs and everything, I think if it doesn't have that component of wanting to truly know people and allow people to be known, then I don't know how effective the life of that church can be. I mean, I'm sure in maybe some ways it can be, like with the teaching or the uh, maybe discipleship, or service to the community, or things like that. But within the life of the church, if it merely just assumes that those things will happen in the context of a small group, I don't know if that's really a core part of the DNA of the church, and for Lauren and me, we don't care about the size or I mean, we don't even necessarily assume we're gonna have a building one day. I mean, we just might be hopping around forever and to different spaces to whatever could be most conducive. But I think we just care more about a church that genuinely loves and cares for each other and also intentionally wants to know each other. So that's what we are trying to endeavor to do. And I actually think you could be at a small church and it could still be unhealthy in the sense that people still don't really know you that well. And you also aren't able to know them very well. And that often happens when people put their walls up, often in unhealthy contexts when maybe there's a lot of gossip or drama or whatever, right? So even in a small church, it doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to know each other pretty well. Actually, it could be very well the case at times that maybe people find an unhealthy place and then they keep their guard up, and so they may know each other just as well as and in another church context that's bigger. But even when Lauren and I met, we were a part of a young adults ministry that was at a mega church. But there was something different about this church, though. And it was just the DNA of it. It was just way more, even though it was big, it was very focused on relationships. And even with our young adults group we were part of, remember the first time I got there, I knew only like one guy who invited me from seminary, but I remember just showing up knowing no one, and remember this girl named Frances was at the door. She wasn't even part of the welcome team, but she just said, "Hey, I'm Frances. What's your name?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I'm David, and I'm new." I think I said that, and then it's just really cool just to have someone just recognize you and then say hi, and then. But what was cool is it wasn't just like one person who wanted to know you or wanted you to get to know them. It was like I really honestly felt like the group was like that. Like that was the DNA of the group. And I mean, it was great. Like I was new, I came in, I taught a few times, and there were people that had appreciated the the teaching that I had done, but people were more genuinely interested in just getting to know me and just being friends with me and just giving me their phone number, asking me to hang out, and I don't even know how frequently I was hanging out with people from that group. I mean, it was very frequently I was spending time with people, and it was really nice. And Lauren and I met there. A number of our friends met their spouses in that group, and honestly, that was probably one of the best church experiences I've ever had. And so I think that's what I want to be what's normal at Epicenter is that environment. And I think what was sad is that eventually the church did want to disband that group and just thought that the group itself was not aligning with how they were wanting to do ministry. And they wanted to do some other small group things. And they thought that the young adults group wasn't really fitting with that small group model. And so a lot of people were really upset. And I knew about it beforehand, so I wasn't so surprised as all the other people were apart from the leadership team at the group. But it was just really sad to see the group just disintegrate in a sense, and so many people had left. If not right away, then within the next few years, people had moved on, and I just really miss that experience and environment and just the it was more than just the fact that people wanted to know you. and would let you into their lives. It was just the environment of the group was just safe. It felt good. It felt safe. People just I remember there were so many people that gave their testimony up front, and, like, no one judged them for anything, and people talked about some, like, pretty like, I mean, people would stand up there and talk about their worst sins, and people would just listen and then go up and hug them and pray over them after, like, collectively. I remember this one guy was just crying as he's giving his testimony and just saying that he helped a woman cheat on her husband, and then, multiple girls gave me their testimonies about being addicted to sex, and then this other girl who I've never heard a girl admit this, publicly in a Christian church context, but yeah, just talking about her addiction to pornography, and just so many things like that where I was like, wow, this is so beautiful that you have a group of people that genuinely care about each other, that want to build a relationship with you, that want you to go to their house, you go, and want to go to your place too. And it was really awesome. I remember we had this St. Patrick's Day party, and my apartment with my friends it was like a one bedroom apartment, and then we reserved the space downstairs, which um, had like a ping pong table and some open space and stuff. But it was crazy how much of a rager it was, even though it was just like me and our friends, and then a number of people from the young adults group wanted to come. And yeah, it was like it was like for a one bedroom apartment and then some space downstairs. It was like 40 some people probably or something like that, right? And I just remember things like that where I was just so happy because before I was so lonely. I remember just being in Fullerton and just really feeling like God called me to be there, but I felt so alone. Just yeah, I felt like I didn't really have that many people to connect with. I mean, I had friends here and there, but um it was it was really cool during that time too, like um just how God was connecting me with even more people than I mean, like I already had like one really good friend who I would eventually also roommate and I brought to the young adults group. But there's so many like really good friends I made out of that. Like one of my best friends came from that group, and so many people that went to our wedding were part of that group. And I just really want to make a community that's like that, where there's a reason why people talk about safe spaces. And obviously, that can be used to an extreme where it's like it's a safe space for only these sets of beliefs or these sets of ideas that people articulate, and it will exclude these other ones that we consider unsafe, right? So they're not really that safe. But when I picture that for a church, I just picture a place where it's just a welcoming, hospitable, redeeming, truthful community, and but it's not too soft, and tolerates unhealthiness, but it's also not too hard, and it's not certainly and hopefully not remotely legalistic to where people feel like I can belong here and give this thing a try. So that's what we want for epicenters, for us to just be a community that knows each other and wants to be known by each other. So I just encourage you to yeah, ask yourself that, like, do I feel known by other people? And you know regardless of your interest in epicenter or not, I just really encourage you to think through that, because I really believe that whoever it is that's listening, that you really have something to offer, that you really can be a really good friend to someone, and someone can also be a really good friend to you. And unfortunately, we're just living in times where people feel incredibly lonely. But I think there's enormous opportunity for the gospel, and if Christians can be better friends than the rest of the world can to people, then maybe that could be our greatest apologetic, is just the way we relate with people and just show genuine interest in them and are good listeners, and yeah, just I guess empathize with their struggles, and just um, yeah, it's interesting how people have responded as I've been in the car with them with Uber, and just hearing their stories, and yeah, just not like I've been just trying to listen well. There's this one guy who was in the car today, and he was talking about he had this girl over and she drugged him, and then he woke up like 9 hours later and all of his stuff was gone, like his MacBooks and iPad, iPhone, and I think he said it's like over $8,000 worth of stuff, right? And so I think it was interesting, like listening to his story, but then for me just to articulate to him, like, man, that's brutal. I'm sorry about that. And I said that multiple times, and genuinely, and I think he just honestly really appreciated that someone just felt bad that that happened to him, even though obviously there's sin involved, and folly, but at the same time, I mean, I think people just want to be heard, and just to feel like someone actually cares, someone actually wants to listen, someone actually gives a crap about your life and wants to be involved in it. And I guess I honestly haven't really figured out why, as a society, we've just become less and less relational. It just seems like, maybe 50 years ago, people were just super friendly and talkative and hospitable, inviting you in for pie. And I don't know, however you picture that, 50 years or more ago, right? It just seems like our culture is very different, very skeptical, very, what did you say?
Closed off.
Closed off. That's what Lauren says. Closed off. Hold still. See, she's working on a pumpkin. So anyway, yeah, closed off. I've seen it hard on Lauren as a mom, and obviously she has her friends that she tries to connect with, but I think she's found it even hard. Like, so Luke has this little girlfriend at preschool named Lila, right? I mean, we haven't really talked to him about girls and relationships and things like that, but he has this little friend named Lila, and so yeah, we really want to try to have a play date, maybe so that Luke can hang out with her. But yeah, it's just been hard just to even initiate, conversation to get that going. And I think for us, like, I think we just really want to be a part of a community where people feel like they can be themselves, and genuine. And I really don't think you can grow as a community if no one's really being genuine. I really think that, like if everyone's wearing a mask and has their walls up, then I don't think anyone really knows each other. I think I just want to be part of a community where people can be themselves. So yeah, I mean, that'd be pretty cool. So if you like to, we're almost at 25 minutes. So if you like to join up with us to hear more about Epicenter, and I'll try to do more videos as well about the different things on our heart. But on October 23rd, it's a Sunday. We're planning on having a vision casting meeting just to talk about our hopes for the church, and it's going to be at our home. So if you're interested, you know how to reach me. So take care, guys, and God bless.